You ever sit across from a woman, beautiful, smart, everything you thought you wanted, and think, if I just had more money, she'd want me more? Let me break that illusion for you right now. The truth? Women don't actually want a rich man. They want a certain kind of man. And that man could be broke today, rich tomorrow. It doesn't matter. Because what turns her on isn't in your wallet, it's in your energy. Once you understand what women secretly crave more than money, you'll stop chasing what you thought made you attractive and start becoming what actually makes her submit without even knowing why. In this video, I'm going to reveal 6 hidden cravings women have that not even they can fully explain out loud. The deeper we go, the more you'll realize, if you master these, she'll follow your lead. She'll stay up all night replaying your words. She'll start needing your presence like air, and she won't even know why. So stay with me, because by the time we reach number 6, you'll be the kind of man who doesn't need money, because women feel rich just being in your presence. Let's get into it. And if you're one of the few who already feels this in your bones, stick around. I've got something special for you at the end. Step 1. Emotional domination, becoming the unshakable center. When we hear the word domination, many immediately think of control, power struggles, or manipulation. But emotional domination, in the context of authentic masculine energy and relationships, is something far deeper and far more subtle. It's not about forcing a woman into submission or playing psychological games to bend her will. Instead, it's about becoming the calm, unmovable center of her emotional universe, a steady force that anchors her in a world of chaos and uncertainty. Why emotional domination? Matters. Women, like all humans, are emotional creatures. They experience highs and lows, moments of vulnerability, anxiety, excitement, and doubt. The modern world, with its relentless noise, demands, and social drama, amplifies emotional turbulence. Women often find themselves surrounded by men who react impulsively, lose their cool, or seek constant validation. These men are emotionally amateurish, triggered by texts, frantic to please, or overwhelmed by minor conflicts. For a woman, being with such a man can feel like walking on eggshells. She never knows when the next emotional storm will hit. This creates insecurity, doubt, and a lack of trust. Enter the emotionally dominant man. He is the eye of the hurricane, calm, steady, and immovable no matter what. His presence alone creates safety. He does not flinch when she tests him. He does not chase her approval. He does not get rattled by mood swings or passive-aggressive digs. Instead, he meets her emotional storms with an unwavering calm that commands respect and trust. Emotional dominance is leadership, not control. Emotional domination is a form of leadership, not domination in the tyrannical sense, but leadership through strength and presence. This is psychological leadership, the ability to hold space for her emotions without being swept away by them. Think about a fire. A fire doesn't beg for wood to keep burning. It burns simply because it is fire. It is self-sustaining, confident, and steady. This is the energy an emotionally dominant man projects. He doesn't need external validation or reassurance. His fire simply burns. When a woman tests you, maybe she's cold, sarcastic, or distant. An emotionally dominant man does not take the bait. Instead, he smiles, leans back, and responds with calm amusement or a knowing comment that shifts the power balance. I see you trying to stir the pot. You want attention, or you want me. This response isn't about manipulation or gaslighting. It's a simple psychological power shift. She realizes you're not reactive or needy. You're the one who controls the emotional temperature of the interaction. The science behind emotional stability. Psychologists have long noted that emotional stability is a critical predictor of relationship satisfaction. a partner who can regulate their emotions effectively, who remains calm in the face of conflict, who doesn't escalate drama, and who manages stress without breaking down, creates an environment where love and trust can flourish. When you embody emotional dominance, you signal to her subconscious that you are reliable and safe. Your calm presence becomes a refuge from the emotional storms she faces in her daily life. This is why women often find themselves craving a man who is emotionally strong, even more than a man with financial wealth. Emotional tests and how to pass them. Women instinctively test men's emotional boundaries. These tests might be subtle or obvious: sarcasm, cold silence, sudden mood shifts, or challenging questions. They are designed to gauge if you can handle her emotional complexity without losing control. An emotionally dominant man passes these tests effortlessly, not because he suppresses his emotions, but because he manages them with maturity and presence. Instead of reacting impulsively or defensively, he stays centered. He might respond with humor, confidence, or simply silence, signaling that he's unshaken. This doesn't mean he's indifferent. It means he's strong enough to hold space for her emotions without being overwhelmed. The magnetic effect of emotional domination. There is a magnetic quality to emotional dominance that draws women in powerfully. When a woman senses that you are emotionally unbreakable, she feels a deep desire to earn your approval. She begins to chase your praise, not out of weakness, but because your approval is rare and precious. You become a figure of respect and admiration, a man whose softness she must compete for, because it is so rare. This dynamic creates a potent emotional bond where she feels both challenged and cherished. Practical steps to cultivate emotional domination. Build self-awareness. Begin by observing your emotional reactions. Notice when you get triggered or reactive. Awareness is the first step toward mastery. Practice emotional regulation. When you feel triggered, take a breath. Pause. Choose your response instead of reacting impulsively. Embrace stillness. Develop a daily practice that grounds you: meditation, deep breathing, or physical exercise. This builds your internal calm. Respond, don't react. When she tests you, respond with confidence, humor, or silence. Don't rush to defend or explain yourself. Set boundaries gently. Emotional dominance also means knowing when to say no or step away from toxicity. You don't allow disrespect or drama to dictate your mood. Lead by example. Show emotional strength in how you handle challenges at work, with friends, and in life. Your consistency builds credibility. Real-life example. Imagine you're texting a woman you like. Suddenly, she sends a sarcastic message, testing if you'll get upset. Instead of reacting with defensiveness or confusion, you reply with a calm, playful comment. Trying to stir the pot again? You want my attention or just playing games? This simple response shifts the energy. She sees you're unshaken and in control. It's disarming and attractive because it shows you won't be easily manipulated. Why emotional domination is more valuable than money. Money can buy comfort, status, and fleeting attraction, but it cannot buy emotional safety or psychological leadership. A woman can cheat on a millionaire if he is emotionally weak, but she will kneel before the man who owns her emotionally, who commands respect through strength, presence, and unshakable calm. This kind of power costs nothing. It doesn't require expensive gifts or flashy displays. It's built inside, through self-mastery and emotional intelligence. In summary, emotional domination is about becoming the steady, calm force in her emotional world. It's about mastering your own emotions so that you can lead with strength, presence, and unwavering calm. Women don't just want a man with money. They want a man who can hold his ground emotionally, who is a fire that never begs for wood. When you master this, you create a magnetic power that draws her in, keeps her loyal, and makes her crave your approval because it's so rare and valuable. Step 2. The erotic mystery, becoming the puzzle. She can't stop solving. There is a reason why mystery is more intoxicating than perfection. A man who is slightly out of reach, whose mind and emotions can't be mapped in a single glance or text thread, holds an almost primal power over a woman's curiosity, imagination, and desire. And not just sexual desire, emotional and psychological longing too. This isn't about playing games. It's about living with so much inner richness and purpose that your full essence cannot be accessed without her earning it. It's about becoming the erotic mystery, the man whose depth, energy, and intentions are never fully on display, yet always felt. The man who doesn't perform for women because his performance is saved for his mission. That man is not predictable. He is not always available. He's not a cliché. And that man drives her mad with desire. Let's go deep into what it means to embody the erotic mystery and how it unlocks something in women that they often can't even explain. What is erotic mystery? Erotic mystery is the unspoken depth that exists behind your eyes, your silence, your pauses, your unpredictability. It's the subtle tension between presence and withdrawal. It's the energy of almost knowing you, without fully grasping what's behind your calm exterior. It's the emotional tension that builds when she's drawn to you, but cannot read you like she reads everyone else. This isn't about being emotionally unavailable. It's about having an inner world so vast and well-guarded that she feels like she's being invited into a secret universe, one layer at a time. Each interaction with you leaves her wondering, who is he really? What makes him tick? What is he holding back, and how can I earn it? Mystery is not absence, it's selective presence. It's giving her enough of you to feel connected, but never enough to feel she owns you. The psychology behind mystery. Let's talk neuroscience and psychology for a moment. The human brain is hardwired to seek closure. When something is unresolved or incomplete, the brain can't stop working to make sense of it. This is called the Zeigarnik effect, the psychological tendency to remember uncompleted tasks or information more than completed ones. Apply that to dating and intimacy. If a woman can fully solve you in one date, one weekend, or even 1 month, the mystery dies. She may still like you, even care for you, but the craving disappears. But if you leave something unsaid, if your energy lingers, but your story remains unwritten, her mind continues turning over every moment, trying to piece together your depth. That's where erotic obsession begins. Mystery is not equal to manipulation. Let's be crystal clear. Mystery is not about trickery, ghosting, withholding affection, or pretending to be someone you're not. That's weak, insecure behavior disguised as alpha posturing. Real mystery is rooted in truth, but it's layered truth. You are grounded in who you are, but not all of that is on display. You live by a code, but she doesn't get access to every part of it up front. You open up when it's right, not just because she wants it, but because she's earned it through presence, vulnerability, or trust. She gets glimpses, not full access. This approach keeps the fire burning. She leans in. She stays curious. She starts to chase because she's drawn to the unknown, the part of you she can't control, the part that makes her feel alive. Traits of a man with erotic mystery. Let's get practical. What does it look like to embody the erotic mystery in real life? 1. He's unpredictable in the right way. You're not erratic or inconsistent. You're just not fully predictable. Maybe you don't always text back immediately. Maybe you end a conversation before she does. Maybe you suddenly shift from deep philosophical talk to playful sarcasm. She never knows what's coming next. and that uncertainty fuels her obsession. 2. He doesn't overshare. You don't dump your life story on her in the first 3 dates. You don't rush to explain yourself. When she asks about your past, you give enough to be real, but not enough to be completely known. You drop hints. You say things like, "That's a story for another night," with a smirk. Now she's intrigued. 3. He withholds certain affections, not out of cruelty, but out of conscious choice. You don't give every compliment right away. You don't constantly flatter her. When you do give affection, whether verbal or physical, it means something. It's earned. It's rare. And that makes it unforgettable. 4. He has a life outside her. You're not waiting by your phone. You're not basing your day on whether she texts. You're in motion. You have goals, rituals, friends, boundaries. She's drawn into your world, not the other way around. That's mysterious. That's magnetic. Real-life example. Imagine you're on a date with a woman. You've been vibing for a while. The energy is charged. She leans in and asks, "You seem calm all the time, but I feel like there's more behind your eyes. What are you holding back?" You don't launch into a monologue. You simply smile slightly, hold her gaze for a moment, and say, "Everyone has a story. Mine isn't for just anyone." Then you pivot the conversation. You just planted a seed of wonder in her mind. She'll replay that moment again and again, because it wasn't just what you said, it was what you didn't say. That silence, that intrigue, that is erotic mystery. Why women crave it? In a world of men who are too eager, too available, and too exposed, the man with mystery stands out as a challenge. And women, especially feminine, emotionally attuned, high-value women, are wired to respond to challenge with arousal. Mystery activates her imagination, her senses, her fantasies. She starts to project onto you power, intelligence, darkness, depth. You become more than a man. You become a myth. A presence she can't quite pin down. A man who doesn't just speak her language. He makes her want to learn his. And the deeper her curiosity, the deeper her submission. Mistakes to avoid. Now let's also get clear on what not to do. Many men confuse mystery with being vague to the point of detachment. If she never feels emotionally safe, she'll back away, not lean in. Ghosting or being inconsistent. That's not mystery, that's immaturity. Pretending to be someone you're not. If you fake mystery, a real woman will sense the fraud quickly. Being cold or emotionally numb. Real mystery includes warmth. It's the contrast that creates the pull. Mystery isn't about being cold. It's about being selective. It's about choosing what parts of yourself to reveal, and when. How to cultivate erotic mystery. Live a life that inspires mystery. Do interesting things. Read deeply. Explore passions. Travel, train, learn new skills. A mysterious man doesn't have to try to be interesting. He is interesting because his life is rich. Speak less, mean more. Practice the art of powerful silence. Use fewer words. Let your energy speak louder than your voice. Silence creates tension, and tension is arousing. Be intentionally unavailable. Not as a tactic, but because you're genuinely building a life that doesn't revolve around her. She gets slices of you, not the whole pie. Create inner boundaries. Not everyone gets access to your heart, your mind, or your story. Emotional discernment is key. Let her earn each layer of you. Stay grounded. When she presses, when she pokes, prods, or pressures you to open up too fast, don't fold. Instead, smile. Stay calm. She'll respect that far more than if you pour your soul out too soon. The feminine yearns to explore. Remember this truth. The feminine is drawn to mystery like fire to air. She wants to discover. She wants to be let in slowly. The more she has to earn access to your soul, your thoughts, your softness, the more she values it. She doesn't want a man who's already on the plate. She wants a man she has to hunt, understand, unravel. The moment she feels she's solved you, the chase dies. So keep your depth, keep your silence, keep your mystery. Let her work to unlock you, not because you're playing games, but because your soul is sacred, and it's not for just anyone. Final thought: become the depth. She can't escape attraction may begin with appearance, but obsession begins with mystery. The erotic mystery is the man whose words linger, whose silence whispers, whose purpose runs so deep that she can't help but dive in, even if she drowns trying. That's what she wants, that's what she craves, and that's what only the rarest men embody. Don't explain yourself too soon. Don't show your hand too fast. Don't let her feel like she knows everything about you within a few days. Instead, become a slow burn, a locked door, a riddle wrapped in fire. Let her earn your story, and she'll never stop craving your presence. Step 3. Certainty, the masculine anchor that makes her let go. There's a certain kind of man who walks into a room and instantly changes the energy. He doesn't speak loudly. He doesn't posture. He doesn't chase attention or overcompensate. He's not worried about what others think of him, and that's exactly why everyone watches him. What you're sensing in that man is certainty, a quiet but undeniable sense of, I know who I am. A man who lives from this place doesn't need to prove anything. His presence alone proves everything. To the feminine, this kind of certainty is irresistible, not just attractive, but spiritually magnetic. She feels it in her nervous system. She craves it not just in her heart, but in her body. It allows her to finally let go of her own armor, to surrender, to soften, to trust. And in a world full of ungrounded, anxious, indecisive men, that certainty is rarer than gold. What is true? Masculine certainty. Let's clarify something up front. Certainty is not arrogance. It's not, I know everything. It's, I know myself. That's the difference between ego and essence. A man with certainty knows his values. He knows his standards. He knows what he wants and what he will not tolerate. He's not easily thrown off course by rejection, discomfort, or emotional drama, because his sense of self isn't built on the shaky ground of other people's approval. It's built on truth, on tested experience, on pain he's processed, battles he's survived, and principles he's chosen. Certainty is not something you say, it's something you are. Women feel it in your tone, in your stillness, in how you handle life's chaos. And in a culture that encourages men to chase validation, bend their truth to please others, and avoid conflict to keep the peace, certainty stands out like a lighthouse in a storm. Why certainty is so sexy. To women at her core, a feminine woman wants to feel safe, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, energetically. She wants to know she can unravel, let go, cry, rage, surrender, and you will not crumble. You will not lose yourself just because she does. Your grounded presence allows her to enter her most chaotic, wild, deeply emotional self without fear that she'll scare you away or break you down. And that kind of safety isn't created through money, compliments, or charisma. It's created through certainty. When you're certain, she feels it, in the way you look her in the eye without blinking, in the way you make decisions without needing a crowd's approval, in the way you say no without flinching, in the way you allow her moods without needing to fix or flee, in the way you speak with weight, not noise. That's why she trusts you. That's why she drops her guard. That's why she starts obeying you, not because you control her, but because she feels like you can handle her in ways most men can't even begin to comprehend. The roots of true certainty. Where it comes from. So where does certainty really come from? Not from affirmations, not from fake confidence, not from reading a few books and memorizing buzzwords. It comes from experience, from overcoming pain, from walking through fire and refusing to let it turn you into ash. Certainty is forged in being cheated on and choosing to stay open anyway, being broke and still choosing self-worth, losing family, love, or direction, and rebuilding your life from nothing, looking at your darkest flaws and still owning who you are. Every man will face moments that either break him or forge him. The ones who rise from that fire with clarity, stillness, and inner power. Those are the men who women feel on a soul level. Because she's not drawn to your perfection, she's drawn to your resilience. She wants to know, if I fall apart, will you fall too? Or will you hold steady while I lose myself in you? That's the real test, and only certainty passes it. The difference between certainty and control. A lot of men confuse certainty with control, but real certainty doesn't require controlling others. It's about controlling yourself. You don't need her to act a certain way for you to feel okay. You don't panic when she challenges you. You don't become needy when she pulls back. You don't crumble when life doesn't go as planned. You meet it all with a grounded calm that says, "This won't break me. I've already survived worse." And that kind of energy, it's rare, it's real, and it rewires the way a woman sees you. She begins to look at you differently, not as someone to play with, but someone to follow. How to cultivate certainty in your daily life. Certainty is a practice, a muscle, and just like a muscle, it grows from tension and resistance, not from comfort. Here's how to build it every single day. 1. Know your code. Every man must have a code, his own internal compass that guides decisions. What are your non-negotiables? What are your values? What will you never compromise? Write them down. Live by them. Refuse to abandon them for sex, approval, or fear. When a man has a code, he becomes immovable. 2. Make decisions, fast and firm. Indecisiveness is a killer of respect. When it's time to decide where to eat, what to do, how to lead, make the call. Don't over-explain. Don't seek permission. Lead. Women aren't attracted to passive agreement. They want to follow a man who moves with direction. 3. Stop needing her to be calm for you to be calm. If your emotional state depends on hers, you are not grounded, you're reactive. Start holding your center no matter what mood she's in. Smile when she's distant. Stay calm when she's moody. Don't abandon your truth to calm her chaos. The more she sees that her emotional waves don't shake you, the more trust and desire she develops. 4. Own your past without shame. Every scar is a story. Every failure is a lesson. Every mistake is part of your legend. Own it all. When you speak of your past with calm acceptance, it shows you're not hiding or pretending. You're real, and that's magnetic. 5. Silence over. Explaining certainty speaks in fewer words. Don't rush to justify every action or prove your point. Let your decisions stand on their own. When she says, "Why didn't you text me back right away?" you say, "I was focused." I don't multitask when I'm in my zone. That's it. No guilt, no apology, just truth. And trust me, she'll respect it more than a 5-paragraph essay. Certainty in conflict. The real test. One of the true tests of masculine certainty is how you handle conflict, especially with a woman you're intimate with. When she challenges you, withdraws affection, or lashes out emotionally, how do you respond? The weak man pleads, panics, or explodes. The certain man breathes. He listens without defending. He speaks clearly. He doesn't chase. He doesn't flinch. And because of that, she leans in. She respects him more. Because he showed her something deeper than charm, emotional fortitude. Real life example. Let's say you're dating a woman, and she starts pulling away, becoming distant and cold. She's testing you, consciously or unconsciously. Most men would panic, ask what's wrong, try to fix it, or become angry and defensive. The man with certainty? He gives space, not coldly but confidently. He sends a calm message like, "I sense something shifted. I respect your space, and when you're ready to talk, I'm here. Until then, I'll be focused on my lane." That message is rooted in strength, not need. It says, "I care, but I won't chase." That's certainty. And it draws her back every single time. The deepest truth. You may think she wants a man with a big bank account, expensive car, or flashy lifestyle. But what she really wants is to feel small in the presence of a man's immovable energy, not small from shame or fear, but from reverence. She wants to feel like she can collapse into you, and that you'll hold her, not judge her. She wants to know, this man won't fold. He won't lose himself. I can trust him with my emotions, my chaos, my surrender. And once she feels that, she won't just respect you. She'll follow your lead. She'll need your presence like air. She'll give herself to you, not because you demanded it, but because your certainty made her want to. Summary certainty is clarity, not arrogance. It's the refusal to lose yourself when she loses her calm. It's the unshakable groundedness that earns her deepest trust. And it's not given. It's forged through pain, purpose, and discipline. So don't just act like the man she wants. Become the man she can't live without. And remember, every day you practice certainty, you build a kind of power that no woman can resist, and no man can fake. Step 4. Command over attention, the silent power that undresses her soul. In today's hyper-connected world, attention has become one of the most diluted currencies a man can offer. Everyone is distracted. Notifications, noise, scrolling, multitasking. It's all pulling the average man's focus into 1,000 directions, leaving him scattered, anxious, and emotionally unavailable. But then, there's you. Or rather, there's the man you are becoming. The man who knows that his attention is not just a form of interest. It is power. It is energy. It is currency. It is seduction. It is leadership. It is how you make a woman feel like the most important soul in the room without ever uttering a single compliment. When a man has control over his attention, he commands the room, not through dominance, but through energetic presence. When his eyes are on you, it's like the rest of the world goes quiet. There are no phones, no distractions, no second screens. There's just him, breathing, watching, listening, receiving. And in that stillness, in that silence, the woman across from him begins to melt. Not because he's trying to impress her, not because he's reciting perfect lines or flexing his knowledge or listing off his accomplishments. She melts because he's there, fully there, rooted in this moment, focused like a beam of light. And to a woman's nervous system, that kind of presence is medicine. It's arousal. It's safety. It's remembrance of something ancient that she's longed for but forgotten. You see, a woman doesn't want a man who's always available. She wants a man who is present. She doesn't need constant messages or attention scattered throughout the day. That kind of shallow stimulation gets old fast. What she craves, what turns her on at a level she can't explain, is the man who, when he's with her, makes her feel like nothing else exists. The man whose attention is not fractured, whose eyes are not darting, whose fingers are not twitching for the next dopamine hit. The man who listens not just with his ears, but with his energy. That kind of attention makes her soften. It makes her open. It makes her surrender without even realizing why. This is the kind of attention that studies, not scans. It notices the subtle inflections in her voice. It sees the flicker of emotion behind her words. It remembers the details others forget. It asks questions that make her feel like her mind is being undressed. Most men look at a woman and only see her body. But the man with command over his attention, he sees the invisible, her rhythm, her shadows, her hunger, her hesitation. And when he touches her, it's not just physical, it's emotional, spiritual. It's as if he's been listening with his whole soul. That kind of touch doesn't come from charm. It comes from watching her closely, from reading her like a sacred text, not a mystery to solve, but a masterpiece to explore. And here's the secret. Most women don't even consciously realize this is what they want. They just know that with one man, they feel adored, even when nothing is being said. They feel held, even before they've been touched. They feel opened, even if the door hasn't been knocked on. Why? Because your attention is doing the work, not in an effortful, try-hard kind of way, but in a quiet, surgical kind of way. You are with her, completely. And that, to the feminine heart, is intoxicating. There's something magical that happens when a woman feels a man's undivided attention. Her guard drops, her breath deepens, her voice lowers. Her gaze lingers longer. She starts to giggle more, fidget more, touch her neck, shift her body closer. Her skin might flush, her lips part slightly, her energy becomes more open. All without you doing anything, but being there. This is why women remember certain men for years, sometimes forever. Not because he had a six-pack, not because he bought her gifts, but because when he looked at her, she felt like time stopped. Because when he listened, she forgot to filter herself. Because in his presence, she felt free. But let's be clear, this kind of attention can't be faked. Women can feel it. They know when you're present and when you're pretending. They know when you're grounded and when you're just performing emotional availability to get something. Command over attention doesn't come from pickup lines or manipulation tactics. It comes from mastering your own mind, from choosing presence every day, from refusing to scatter yourself, from cutting out unnecessary distractions, from building the inner discipline to not just be available, but to be fully here. You want to become the man who gives his attention like a flame, controlled, hot, deliberate. Not a wildfire that chases everything in sight, not a flickering candle that burns out when the wind shifts, but a slow, steady fire that warms the soul of the woman lucky enough to sit in front of it. Because when your attention becomes a sacred offering, not a desperate gesture, you stop needing to impress her. You stop needing to compete with louder men or flashier men. Because your presence becomes the flex. And women don't want to be chased by scattered men. They want to be chosen by a focused one. Think back to a time you were truly present with someone. Remember how powerful that moment felt, how time seemed to slow down. That's what you're offering when you master your attention. That's what she'll crave. That's what no amount of money or external status can replace. A man who can sit still, look deeply, breathe slowly, and listen fully. He becomes the rarest breed of all. He becomes the anchor in her storm, the silence in her chaos, the mirror that reflects not just her beauty, but her truth. And when a woman finds that man, she doesn't just want his body. She wants his approval, his attention, his commitment, his energy. She wants in, and she'll fight to keep it. That kind of man doesn't need to raise his voice to be heard. He doesn't need to overshare to be understood. He doesn't need to demand submission, because women naturally melt into the presence of a man who isn't trying to get anything, but who sees everything. A man who holds his attention like a blade, sharp, intentional, patient. When you become that man, you stop chasing moments of connection. You create them. And once you know how to create that kind of moment, you realize something wild. Attention is seduction. Not the surface kind, the soul kind. The kind that lingers in her memory years later. The kind that makes her whisper your name in her dreams. The kind that no rich man can buy, and no good-looking man can fake. Only a grounded man can give. So before you try to impress her with your achievements or charm her with clever lines, ask yourself, can I make her feel like she's the only one that matters right now? Can I focus on her in a way that no one else does? Can I silence the noise, not just around me, but inside me? If the answer is yes, then you've already done what 99% of men can't. You've given her something that can't be wrapped in a box, can't be posted on Instagram, and can't be measured with money. Presence. And that is the beginning of true power. Step 5. Quiet power. The man who doesn't need to prove a damn thing. There's a kind of man who walks into a room and doesn't need to say a word, yet everyone knows he's different. He's not loud, he's not flashy, he's not trying to dominate the space. But the moment he steps in, something shifts, conversations pause. Eyes subtly drift in his direction, not because of what he's wearing or how tall he is, but because of what he carries inside. This man exudes what most can't even name. It's not arrogance, it's not intimidation, it's quiet power, and it's the most seductive form of masculinity on the planet. Quiet power is the energy of a man who doesn't need to prove himself because he already knows himself. He doesn't posture or puff up. He doesn't speak to be heard. He speaks when something needs to be said. And when he does speak, it lands like thunder wrapped in velvet. Not because he's trying to impress you, but because his words are chosen, precise, intentional. In a world full of men seeking approval, the quietly powerful man is already approved by himself. That's what makes him magnetic. That's what makes women lean in, drop their guard, and offer more than their bodies. They offer their trust. Women feel this kind of power before they understand it. They don't fall for him instantly because of status or looks, though he may have both. They fall for how he makes them feel. Safe, challenged, seen. They feel like they're in the presence of something solid, something unmoved by their moods or games. And that's what separates him from every other man who's just reacting, chasing, performing. This man doesn't perform. He lives, he breathes, he chooses. Quietly, steadily, with conviction. You see, most men are addicted to the performance of power. They post about their hustle, they flaunt their routines, they show off their cars, their workouts, their wins. And while there's nothing wrong with success, the quietly powerful man doesn't need to show it. Why? Because he knows that real power doesn't seek attention, it attracts it. Real power doesn't compete, it creates gravity. Women don't orbit loud men because they're loud. They orbit men who are centered, unshaken, self-directed. And the louder the world gets, the more rare and irresistible that kind of man becomes. This is not about becoming cold or detached. It's about becoming so centered in your identity, so rooted in your purpose, that you're not pulled in 1,000 directions. When a woman tests you, emotionally, sexually, psychologically, you don't flinch, you don't beg, you don't chase. You simply hold your line. You smile, you observe, you respond with clarity, not reaction. And in doing so, you create something she didn't even know she craved: emotional containment. A man who contains the chaos instead of adding to it. A man who lets her storm, but never lets it drown him. That's what quiet power is. The ability to remain calm when others panic. To stay true when others chase trends. To let your work, your values, your presence speak for you. And in that silence, she starts to feel things she can't explain. Respect, desire, curiosity, surrender. Not because you raised your voice, but because your silence meant something. A man with quiet power doesn't need to control others. He controls himself, his emotions, his reactions, his impulses. He's not led by lust or ego. He's led by vision. And that's exactly why women trust him. Because if a man can master himself, He can hold space for her, not just when she's soft and feminine, but when she's storming, testing, resisting, collapsing. He doesn't disappear in her intensity. He doesn't shrink. He holds steady. That kind of masculine container is rare, and it's priceless. Every scar on his body, every mistake in his past, every heartbreak, every failure. It's not baggage. It's proof that he's been through fire and came out refined, not burned. He's not trying to be perfect. He's trying to be real, solid, grounded. That's what gives him his edge. His confidence doesn't come from how many women he's slept with. It comes from the fact that he can walk away from a beautiful woman if she costs him his peace. That's power. Quiet, clean, non-negotiable. When a man becomes that solid, his attention becomes a reward. His praise becomes nourishment. His words carry weight. A whisper from him means more than a speech from a dozen loud men. A simple gesture, placing his hand gently on her lower back, looking her in the eyes without saying a word, sends chills down her spine. Why? Because it's earned. It's not validation handed out for free. It's the offering of a man who doesn't need her, but who chooses her, deliberately. From his fullness, not his hunger. That's what women crave when they're done playing. That's what they fantasize about but rarely admit. A man who isn't performative, but purposeful. Who isn't addicted to noise, but commands silence. Who isn't trying to be the man on the billboard, but the man she thinks about when she's alone in her room, wondering why no one else makes her feel the same. And you don't need to be rich to become that man. You don't need a Rolex or a perfect jawline. You need to be honest. You need to be disciplined. You need to walk through your own shadows, confront your demons, and emerge a little quieter, a little stronger, and a hell of a lot more focused. You need to stop trying to be impressive and start being integrated. Your mind, your heart, your body, your purpose, all aligned. Because once you get there, once you stop trying to prove a damn thing, that's when she starts trying to prove herself to you. She leans in, she softens, she studies your moods, your silences, your gestures. She tries to crack your code, not because you're playing games, but because she knows a man like you is rare. And she wants to be the one who earns your softness, your time, your attention, your protection. So remember this, the man who doesn't need to prove himself becomes the man every woman wants to be proven worthy of. He doesn't beg for affection, he inspires devotion. He doesn't ask for attention, he receives it. He doesn't chase validation. He lives in a way that validates itself. And once you taste what that kind of masculine power feels like, you'll never go back to the noise. The world may not understand it. Loud men may mock it. But the women who matter, the women who feel, they'll sense it before they even know why they're drawn to you. They'll submit without being asked. They'll stay without being chased. And they'll worship your silence more than they ever admired another man's performance. That is quiet power, and it cannot be faked. Step 6. Emotional leadership, the final trigger that makes her stay. There's a profound difference between simply leading and leading with emotional intelligence, what I call emotional leadership. Most men think leadership is about control, dominance, or decision-making alone. But true leadership, the kind that captivates a woman's heart and mind, is rooted in the ability to hold space for her emotions without being overwhelmed or reactive. It's about being the steady lighthouse during her storms, not the storm itself. This kind of emotional leadership is the final trigger that moves a woman from fleeting attraction to lasting devotion. Women are emotional creatures by nature, wired to connect through feelings, vulnerability, and shared experience. Yet many men shy away from emotional depth because they confuse it with weakness. The quietly powerful man knows better. He understands that true strength lies in emotional clarity, the ability to feel deeply, remain grounded, and guide without judgment or confusion. When a man masters this, he becomes a rare kind of anchor in her life. She no longer feels like she has to guard her heart or armor up. Instead, she feels safe enough to be raw, open, even messy. And that safety creates a bond that no amount of money, status, or superficial charm can replace. Emotional leadership means you listen, not just with your ears, but with your entire being. You don't interrupt. You don't rush to fix. You don't minimize her feelings. You create a container where her emotions can be fully expressed without fear of rejection or ridicule. This isn't about agreeing with everything she says or playing the perfect therapist role. It's about presence, being there in the moment, fully grounded, offering calm in the face of chaos. When she knows you're genuinely present, that connection deepens beyond physical attraction. It moves into the realm of emotional intimacy, which is the bedrock of true submission and lasting partnership. But emotional leadership also requires boundaries, firm, clear, and compassionate. A woman doesn't want a man who lets her emotions control him or the relationship. She wants a man who can manage her energy with wisdom and strength, not resistance or fear. That means calmly addressing conflict, setting standards, and holding his own truth without aggression or withdrawal. When a man demonstrates this kind of emotional sovereignty, he becomes a beacon of stability. She begins to trust that no matter what storms rage around them, he won't lose himself or the relationship. That trust sparks loyalty deeper than desire alone ever could. This leadership also transcends words. It lives in the subtle ways you manage your presence, the calm in your voice when she's upset, the patience in your eyes when she's vulnerable, the steady hand that reaches for hers when the world feels heavy. Women crave these moments because they tap into primal biology. She wants to feel protected, not just physically, but emotionally. She wants to know you can handle the messiness of real life, not just the highlight reel. That's what makes her feel cherished, valued, and ultimately willing to surrender on a level beyond explanation. Another critical part of emotional leadership is your self-mastery. The man who leads emotionally has done the hard work on himself, confronting his own fears, healing old wounds, and becoming accountable for his energy. Because how you show up emotionally isn't just about her, it's a reflection of your inner world. When you bring calm, clarity, and strength to your relationship, it's because you've cultivated those qualities within, and women feel that authenticity instantly. They aren't fooled by surface-level charm or fleeting passion. They want the real deal, a man who is emotionally available and unshakable. Ultimately, emotional leadership is about choosing to love from fullness, not need. It's about approaching her not as someone to fill a void, but as a partner to share life's journey. When you lead from this place, your relationship shifts from transactional to transformational. She no longer sees you as just a man to be pleased, but as a force to be reckoned with, the man who challenges her, supports her, and holds space for both light and shadow. That's the energy that makes her stay through storms, boredom, and everything in between. No amount of wealth can replace this kind of connection. No flashy gift or grand gesture can substitute for a man who can stand steady when everything else falls apart. Emotional leadership is the rarest, most valuable form of masculinity because it combines strength with vulnerability, power with tenderness, and certainty with compassion. And once you master it, you become a man who doesn't just attract women. You create a woman who chooses to stay, to build, and to grow with you for the long haul. If you want to be that man, you must commit to this path of self-awareness and emotional growth. It's not a quick fix or a game to play. It's a lifelong journey of becoming more present, more grounded, and more loving, even when it's hard. But the rewards? They're priceless. A woman who sees you as her leader, her rock, and her safe harbor. A relationship rooted in trust, passion, and deep respect. A love that doesn't just survive, it thrives. That is emotional leadership. That is what women truly crave. And that is the final piece to unlocking the masculine power that no money can buy.